All right, we are live. So just go ahead and load up your questions, and I'll introduce my host. Our guest today is Jim Sabellico. He's my co-founder at Legiit. He's an accomplished web developer and entrepreneur. And today he's going to be answering your questions on whatever you want, but let's try to focus it to things like web development and hosting and things like that. So Jim, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm very happy to be here in the legendary Chris M. Walker's presence. It's an honor to be with the Superstar SEO audience, and happy to help any way I can.
You guys see and hear him okay? It's been a bit of a technology nightmare getting this all to work together, so if not, then let me know. Sound okay? Yep. All right. All right, guys. So just go ahead and load up your questions. Let's try, like I said, try to keep it to SEO and things like that. If you're watching this on YouTube, you probably can't see Jim. So come join us over on Facebook at superstarseo.com/Facebook. And you can put in your questions there, or you can just listen to us talk. There's a bit of a delay with the way we're having to do this. So if I don't answer your question right away, it's not because I'm ignoring you. So like, unless it's you, Jamie, I might ignore you. Just kidding. Can you see the questions, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can't find some of the ones that we had leading up to this. Like I said, there is a delay, so maybe a bit confusing. Also, I found out today that I can't live stream from my expensive new camera, so without a bunch more hardware, so that was disappointing. So I'm using my $79 webcam again and my iPhone.
Should have bought a Mac, bro.
Has literally nothing to do with it. Now, apparently the cameras themselves built that in because of the overheat. But, never miss a chance to tell somebody they can buy a Mac when it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's kind of how it goes.
Jim, you just want to maybe talk a little bit while we get some questions loaded in? Do you have anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to plug?
We can talk about my love for crocheting. It's always a hot topic here.
That is true, yeah.
But let's see, in all seriousness, I actually drew that myself, Ron. So I guess maybe it would be a good idea to give myself a little background, or give you a background on me, as it was. I've been doing web design development for approximately 15 years at this point, in many shapes and forms. It's been quite an interesting journey. I've done plenty of logo design, app development, branding, web design, software building, you name it. A lot of stuff in the typical digital agency space. Apart from the core business of digital agencying, whatever you want to call it, I also have a auto repair and customization shop. So we're quite varied, as well as a couple different software solutions out there for food bloggers, for regular bloggers, and a rather large camping community I run as well. So kind of spread out all over the place, but it does give me a nice background into a bunch of different businesses, and to just kind of streamline them all properly. So anyway, to answer your original question, the profile image on my Facebook page was one that I drew myself. It was a very long-winded answer to a simple question. Do you want me to start fielding questions? Are you still looking for your Windows key?
No, yeah, I'm all set. Can you not see me?
I can see you.
Okay. Yeah, just go ahead and start with the questions if you want.
All right. So the question here from Corey about automotive group websites all together or separate. I don't really understand the question.
Yeah, if you can just rephrase that, then we'll get it to you and just drop it back in there.
All right, cool. Citations can be done in 2 languages. I think that's probably better suited for you.
Yes, they can, depending on the site.
Yeah, blocking SEO software is finding the backlinks to your site. I guess we could probably both tackle that one if you want to, but I'll give you the first stab at it.
I'm kind of behind. What was it?
How to block SEO software from finding the backlinks to your site.
If a lot of times you don't have any option, but if it is a site that you control, you can install something like Spider Spanker or Bot Nemesis, and that will block it. But if it's somebody else, like if it's a site that you don't control, there's nothing you can do about
it. At what age did I find my passion for crocheting? Good question. It was about probably 2 years ago. Yeah, it was a real low point in my life, but I'm happy to say crocheting saved me. So I'm a born-again crocheter. Favorite CDN? I'm probably missing a lot of people's questions because they're, scrolling as it was.
And there's a delay too.
So I'm not ignoring you, I promise. Favorite CDN? Usually I'll use something like Cloudflare just because it is super simple and well supported. There's a whole lot more that goes into site speed than just using a CDN. So I can always talk more about that if you guys need to. But as far as looking for just a regular CDN, Cloudflare is probably the go-to choice for me. What platform we create custom websites on? Answer to that one is going to be a lot. So most of them are going to be done just on straight up WordPress just for ease of use for people. It's just an easy platform for us to teach the average business owner so they can make changes themselves and kind of administer it on their own. Some of the other ones that we build will be on anything from Node.js to Laravel to all sorts of different languages we'll use. Each one kind of has their own specific requirements, so that's how we'll choose what the best fit is going to be. Individual sites or one big group site. I think this one goes back to the automotive group question for each storefront. This is probably a mix between like user experience and SEO, but for me, I'd probably recommend doing one like company-wide site. So if it's like a chain store, probably use one main company site and then have different pages for each location, each brand of the company. Your thoughts there, Chris?
I didn't. You broke up a little bit.
Oh, about just having like one big agency site, not agency site, but one big company-wide site for a automotive group.
Location pages.
Smaller pages. Yeah.
I prefer to have one site because it works better from an SEO point of view. That way, and with like separate locations and from there. That's my preference. But there are advantages and disadvantages to both. So.
Gotcha. Ron is asking me if I don't like CloudFront better. No, not at all. It's a boring answer, but just no.
There's one here from Javier. It says, follow-up question, any way to block those SEO softwares from picking up on links without using plugins? Not that I know of. I don't know if there's anything like HT access you can do. You
can. If you are super comfortable with editing that and not destroying your entire site. It depends on your server, what you're going to block specifically. If you happen to know the bot that's actually crawling your site, it's much easier to block it. Otherwise, if you try and do like a very generic, I want to block all bots from indexing or scanning my site, you're going to run a chance of just blocking regular bots that are kind of beneficial to you as well.
Like Google.
Right.
I don't know if it's like this for everybody, but there's a huge delay from when I hear you to when I see your lips moving.
Oh, gotcha.
I had to cancel YouTube, by the way, because they couldn't hear you.
Oh.
So I'll just stream this recording over to YouTube later.
All right.
Guys, let's load up some more questions. We'll get right on top of it. I know there's a delay, so when I don't see any, I'm going to have to just talk and keep you entertained while that happens. I would do a little show, but, you know. All right. Ron says, Google says WordPress jQuery libraries are vulnerable in Lighthouse. What's the best way to upgrade to new jQuery? I've tried a few things, and it broke my site.
So the answer to that question is going to depend on what company you're hosting with. A lot of companies will actually be able to help do it for you. The better option is going to be just contacting them first and making sure what limitations you have, what your backup plans are. It's kind of a detailed question to get into, like the actual step-by-step process here. But I'd recommend just checking with your host first, seeing what kind of options they provide for support-wise. If you have a good one, they'll do it for you. That way you don't have to worry about it, and make sure everything works.
Cool. I think I'll read off the questions, and then you can just answer them. I think that'll go a little smoother.
Sure.
Kirill says, a general overview for preventative security measures to keep sites safe from viruses and malware. I just installed WordFence with SSL and not sure if that's really good enough.
No, it's not. I've never had a site that wasn't somewhat vulnerable to being hacked. It's going to happen at some point. Well, at least I should say a WordPress site. WordPress being the most popular platform out there for blogging or making other sites, it's the one that's going to be most likely targeted. So people are going to look for loopholes, especially when you've got hundreds of thousands of sites using WooCommerce. If there's one little loophole where people can get access into your site, or like Genesis forums, whatever it is, you're going to run a risk of having that, opening for some malware to get in. You could use plugins like WordFence or Sakuri, or there's a ton of different ones. In my experience, I've never seen one of them be 100% perfect. You just have to kind of take the regular steps, make sure things are updated as often as possible, use secure passwords, don't reuse them, change them often, that sort of thing. But it's probably going to happen at some point.
All right. Ron says, does having old jQuery libraries affect ranking if Google Lighthouse says it's vulnerable?
Is that a me question or you question, sir?
You, I guess. Does having old jQuery libraries affect ranking? I don't understand what that means. So
no. I mean, I would say no. If your rankings are that vulnerable, I wouldn't think so.
I tend to agree.
A lot more factors that are going to roll into that than what version of jQuery you're using.
Matt says, what are we talking about today? Matt, we're talking about like web development, security, hosting, anything along that line, but you can ask whatever you want.
Yeah, don't forget crocheting, also important.
Oh, crocheting, yes. Sanjar, and this is my universal apology for anybody whose name I get wrong. Do you think on-site is more important than before, especially with new G update? How do you compare it with off-site SEO? Off-site is still the most important, but on-site is definitely more important. And it's the easiest thing to fix. So get it as right as possible. And then if you don't get it right, you can always easily go change the text around or the tags or something like that. So it's always been super important, but off-site is more important because it's harder and there's more factors. So hopefully that makes sense. Alex says, would it make any difference on a workhorse site to change the created dates on the different posts so that it does not look like they were all built out at the same time in terms of working on coding something that would make those edits to the database? I think you're overthinking it. I wouldn't worry about the dates on them. I don't think Google cares. And it's normal for even a large site to have all of its pages come online at the same time. So Koya says, would Nemesis bot block Google? No. No, bot Nemesis, I think, is what you're asking about. That's Gregory Ortiz's plugin. And no, it won't block Google because it's designed specifically for SEOs. And obviously you want Google to find your site. So. Sean says, what is the best security extension for WordPress?
I'll say probably the best one, or at least the most popular one, is going to be WordFence. It's got a pretty legit set of features to it.
Good there.
You're going to want to use the paid version. It's going to give you just a little bit better feature set. But again, it's not something that's going to be 100% foolproof. It's definitely going to give you a step ahead of the malware and whatever else, but you can't just kind of set it and forget it and hope for the best.
Ron says, do you hide any elements of WordPress homepages to make them more mobile friendly?
How do I want to answer that question? Yeah, no, I don't know what the proper answer there is. I wouldn't hide elements necessarily, but I would probably take a look mostly at where your traffic is coming from. If it's coming mostly from mobile, you're going to want to design a homepage that's mobile oriented first and desktop secondary, just based on that's where your traffic is coming from. So rather than what a lot of people do is they'll take a desktop website, scale it down to mobile and kind of hope for the best. The best option, at least in my perspective, is going to be designing a website for wherever your traffic is coming from. So instead of just hiding elements, you want to kind of design for what people are going to look for. So don't just take your desktop version and say, this slider is ugly, I'm going to hide it. Spend a little time and think, look at your analytics, see what people are looking at, maybe provide them something that's user-friendly on mobile. So you're going to kind of want to have two different versions rather than just hiding stuff.
Great answer. Raphael says, revise. Site for a front store is in English, but I want to reach Spanish community. And citation will help if I run them on both language, or will be issues. I honestly don't know. I don't do that many non-English, non-American sites, so any answer I gave you would just be me speculating. So maybe ask in the group, and maybe there's somebody with a little more experience on that, but I don't have an answer. Jim, you probably don't have anything on that either, do you?
No, I'm useless.
Okay. Matt says, I have two money sites. Both are on a shared HostGator account. I want to use the same PBNs for both sites. If I change one of the money sites hosting to a different host, am I in the clear for using the same PBNs? Did I create a footprint and potential penalty by having both money sites on the same hosting account when they were first built? I don't think so. I think if you move it before you link to it, you're probably good. That's I guess. I would avoid doing that in the future, though. I know that it gets really expensive, but yeah, I think you're fine as long as you move it first and then start linking to it. But try not to cross streams, too. They don't link to the same money sites from the same PBNs all the time. That can get to be problematic as well. Hopefully that answers that. Sean says, when you need a page to be re-indexed, what is the best approach? I've tried Search Console, but didn't see changes after weeks. So by indexed, do you mean literally not showing up in Google when you do site :domain? And if so, submitting it to Search Console didn't get it to come back, there's a chance you've got a penalty. So I would install Webmaster Tools and see if there's a manual action. If not, there's something else going on and maybe you have bots blocked. So that's the other option. So both of those can be fixed by setting it up in Webmaster Tools, which I guess is now called Search Console as well. Sanjar says, is changing the niche of a website and use it as a PBN a footprint? No. Ron says, what is your experience with Lightspeed servers?
Kind of average. I've used quite a few of them. I don't particularly love it. I don't hate it. I think it's going to be one of those things where a lot of people have a personal preference based on they used it once and their website that they used it on was super fast and it was awesome and that's it. It's good, don't get me wrong. I don't know that it's like the be-all end-all, but I've always had good experiences, never anything bad to say, just not, oh my God, great.
Yeah, looks like we're caught up for the moment, so I just want to take a second and say you have a much cooler office than I do.
Yeah, well, so the cool part that you don't know yet is we're going to hold a contest, and we're going to have people Photoshop in fun backgrounds for you later.
Oh, nice. Nice. That's actually a great idea because I haven't gotten to play with that today or play with that yet since I got my new setup. So
well, there you go.
I'm open to ideas that don't suck.
All right. We'll be sure and follow up on that.
Ron says, and I'm glad Ron's here because he's got some great questions. You like Apache or NGIX better?
Depends on the use case. Most cases, Apache is going to be like the default version, but I have a preference. I mean, it's one of those things that kind of whatever works, but there's no real competitive advantages for me, for most people, that it's going to be one over the other. You're going to be, oh my God, amazed.
First website I ever did web hosting or like web administration on, we used IIS, and that was a disaster.
Yeah, still used, but still terrible.
Yeah, that was in like 2008, I think. So it's back when I actually worked in IT. Hey guys, any more questions? Like I said, I know there's a delay, so when we get into one of these, I'm just going to babble until some more come out. So I don't want to sit here silently. That's the first rule of journalism. Not that this is journalism. This is very unprofessional. But yeah, here we go. Sanjar says, have you seen a legit local business penalized by G before because of using spam links and PBNs? Absolutely, yes. Well, not PBNs, but spam links, yes. It's easy to fix, but actually one of my client sites like a year or so ago, they got hacked and they got one of those pages that was serving malware and they got a penalty for that and got demoted. So yes, it can be done. James says, when posting videos to PBNs, do you limit one video per channel or playlist? How many would you recommend? Posting videos to PBNs. One video per... Now, you know what I do is I find the most relevant videos. So if it's a PBN post about, I don't know, roof repair, I'll go and Google the keyword, or not Google, but YouTube search the keyword and just use the first video that shows up. And I don't care about like what channel they're on or anything. Because to me, you're getting, the whole point of a PBN is to pass as much relevance onto your money site. And by doing that, that's one more way you're creating relevance. That's why my PBNs actually rank, that and a few other things, but actually rank themselves and get traffic, is because I get as much relevance as possible. So hopefully that answers that. All right, now the questions are rolling in. Ron says, I don't want to manage a Linux server. I found most managed VPS are around $70. Is that pretty typical?
Answer there is yes.
Okay. Alex says, oh, this is a long one. No, he doesn't say that, but I'm saying that this is a long one. I hope he's not saying that. I have questions are scrolling faster than I can read it. I have a site that finally popped into the snack pack for a day and then out again. Been working on it for a long time. It has great reviews and more reviews than competition than is in the snack bag. Do I just wait, or is now a good time to build more map beds and citations, or is there something else? Keep doing what you're doing, and eventually it'll keep moving. So hopefully that makes sense. But reviews are only one piece of the puzzle, but make sure you respond to every review. I'm finding that actually has an impact now. So hopefully that answers that. Jade says, Chris M. Walker, do you have good seats for Mania? Absolutely, yes. They're the best I've ever had, and this is my 6th time going, and these are the best I've ever had. Still not quite as good as I wanted to, and it wasn't like I couldn't like pay for them, but they sell so fast that it wasn't possible. But next year I'm gonna be like recognized on camera as a guest celebrity, so that's my goal there. Not really, by the way. Tomislav says, hey, Chris. Hey, buddy. How's it going? Matt says, how do I create good local SEO lead gen sites? Do you have any specific themes to suggest or resources for design or conversion rate optimization? Jim, that's a little better suited to you, I think.
Sure. So, I think this is going to be another one of those things where you're going to have to look at your audience, look at where they're coming from, desktop versus mobile, make sure you design around whatever they're looking for. If you are looking for we'll use Long Island, that's where I am, like a Long Island-based lead gen site, I'd recommend obviously kind of catering it towards your audience. So you're going to know what people in your area like, use relevant local pictures, design elements if possible. But as far as getting good leads from it, I think having engaging content obviously is going to be pretty key. Making it super simple for people to contact you, also important. And biggest thing I think to take away from it is avoiding the scammy looking pop-ups and over and above in your face contact forms. People are getting a lot smarter when it comes to advertising tactics. So they don't want to be hit with pop-ups right away, or enter your email to find out more information, or go through like this long report and then enter your email at the end. They're just going to bail on you. So giving them like genuine advice, genuine offers, trying to be as legit as possible is always going to be the best route there.
So you're saying set up the homepage more as an advertorial kind of thing, where it's giving actual like useful information and then says, if you need help, click here. Is that kind of what you mean?
Sort of, yeah. I wouldn't go like the scammy route of trying to just put a bunch of email opt-in forms. People would just tend to steer away from that lately. So providing useful content over just providing 15 different ways for them to enter their email is the route I would go.
So you don't think having a contact form above the fold is a good idea?
It's not a terrible idea.
That's what it didn't work that well. That's why I asked.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't make it a super prominent thing, but maybe like a contact button hanging out on the sidebar, or like stuck to the left or right side of the page, something like that. But I wouldn't just make it the prominent thing, because people are going to realize you're just thirsty for leads. So if the very first thing that they see is entering your email address, they want to know why. And people are getting a little bit more reserved with giving out that info. So kind of, it's going on a date. You don't ask you don't ask to take a girl home with you right away. You could. You're going to get probably 1 out of 100 that'll say yes. But
if you look like me.
Well, yeah, of course. If you actually put in the work first and making, a good advertisement for yourself, you're going to have much better odds.
Good. Sean says, when it comes to SEO, what is the #1 difference between 20 pages WordPress sites and 500-page e-commerce sites? It's a lot more work for a big e-commerce site, but the same principles kind of apply, like siloing. And I don't have a ton of e-commerce experience, so I'm speaking somewhat theoretically, but siloing I think is more important, like having category, product type, product page, but overall it's the same. It's just a lot more work. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that? Or
no, you're never wrong.
Sanjar says, how do you manage the cost of content on a huge PBN network? I only put up like one post before I start making a new PBN to kind of like just let it sit there. And then anything I get content for is something I've had money come in for, whether it's for a client or whatever. But yeah, and that's also why I started monetizing my network by selling links, is because it does get expensive. So that's one of the reasons I started selling links. I avoided that for years because of the headaches, but that was one way I helped to offset the cost, and hopefully I've been able to help some people along with that. So Aaron says, with a lead gen website setting multiple local landing pages, should I set up one of the locations for homepage or keep homepage general page and use subpages for local pages only? Lead gen website, setting up multiple local landing pages. Set up one of the locations for homepage. I would do a generic homepage, not generic, but general homepage, and then location pages for each location. So like the homepage is the hub, and then all the locations are out like that. So hopefully that makes sense. Aaron says, can you sorry, go ahead.
It's a nice dance move right there, like that.
What's that?
That was a nice dance move right there.
Oh, thank you. And Aaron says, can you recommend a good theme for MLM type of site?
No, I mean, they're all going to be somewhat different depending upon what you're trying to sell. So I think it's kind of important to look at, what the audience is. For example, something like, I don't even know. I guess the biggest MLM ever, Avon, you're going to have a much softer look and feel than you would for if you're selling SEO software. So it depends on, each one's going to be a little bit different. You just need to look at what your audience is looking for and then figure out kind of the best thing to appeal to them specifically, and then go from there.
I would add on to that to not use the website that they give you as part of your sign up, because I see those and I instantly know what it is and I shut it off. To me, they look really crappy. So anyway, Aaron says, hey Aaron. Kirill says, how did you first start learning about servers, hosting, and all the back-end stuff? What did you need to study for it?
I've never actually formally trained in any of it. It's always been just actual kind of jump in and figure it out as I go. Like I said, I've been doing it for a long time, so it's been something that obviously as new technologies evolve and come out, you have to put in the work and do the research for it. But it's not like I went to school for web hosting. It's something that I started out just for fun, and then it just kind of evolved from there.
Cool. I want to add on to that and make the point that I did go to school for it. I have an associate's degree in computer technology and a bachelor's degree in information technology. And I've never had anywhere near the success Jim or like a lot of people have had with it. So it just goes to show you that I don't want to say college is worthless, but Jim does really, really well without having the college education in it. And I have the college education in it and never made a dime from it. Well, not really, since I never made a dime from it, but I never did very well with it. So that's just kind of a comment on our education system. I'm not trying to go full Gary V on you about college, but I think that's a great illustration. So Ron says, best WordPress caching plugin, WP Rocket.
Yes.
What do you think of Breeze, Jim?
What's that?
What do you think of Breeze?
Breeze is not my favorite. It's certainly not as easy breezy as you'd believe it to be. Definitely, if I had to recommend one of them, hands down, it would be WP Rocket. It's full featured. It works really well. I've never really had a lot of problems with it. One super important thing to note about that, though, WordPress caching plugins are not a set it and forget it type of thing. I actually did a training on page speed optimization the other day, focusing mostly on WP Rocket and getting that set up. But the important takeaway from that was caching and page speed is not like a one-time event. It's more of a process. So you're going to need to go in, and setting up a caching plugin is just one smaller step in the grand scheme of making your page load quickly. An important step, but not just something that you're going to go purchase and install WP Rocket and then your page is going to be just magically faster. You're going to need to put in some additional work to get it loading properly.
So you're saying if someone was teaching to just install WP Rocket as their entire site speed training, that wouldn't be sufficient?
No, I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend definitely, it's a good step, good piece of the puzzle, so to speak. But definitely there's going to be a lot more involved in working with your site, just, piece by piece, trying to make sure that you really optimize everything. It's not called page speed cache plugins. It's called page speed optimization. So it's a process. You need to go through and optimize your site for it, not just throw a plugin at it and be done.
Okay. And you said you did a training on that recently. Where was that at?
I did. That is in what we call the Webmasters Academy. We'll, I'm sure, throw a link up somewhere to it, comments or somewhere.
Maybe at the end you can tell us a little bit more about it, and we'll send a link to it. I think people will appreciate that.
You got it.
All right. James says, Chris, I was talking about using PBNs to boost the rankings of my YouTube video. So how many video posts could you put on a PBN per playlist or channel? How many video posts could you put? If you're talking about just using the PBN for embedding videos, you can do quite a bit, I think. Because what I used to do with my PBNs was use a plugin called, what was it called? Video Kraken to regularly post videos and kind of like people live. So you can do a lot. As far as helping your ranking, obviously, the more you use a particular PBN, the less effective it's going to be as far as in boosting ranking. But I don't know. I think you could probably do 20 to 30. There's never like a fixed number answer for anything in SEO, but I would say after 20, it's going to really start to lose, lose effectiveness. I think that answered what you asked. If not, then sorry about that. Just cleared up for me a little more. Sanjar says, is using a PBN with not exact anchor waste of PBN? Absolutely not. That's actually one of my favorite techniques, is to buy a package of PBNs, like a 25 pack, usually from Milana, and just use those for the 12 versions of the URL. So like you get like a 25 pack and then do 2 of each. I guess that would be 2 of each and then 3 of one of them. But that way you really dilute it and you're still getting some powerful links. Other people are going to tell you that's not good. They're wrong and I'm right because I'm always right. Just kidding. But it works for me and it's worked. So that's a good way to do it. So no, it's not a waste. That said, I understand that PBNs are one of the biggest financial drains, I guess, for any particular SEO agency. So it may not be the way to do it if you don't have a big budget. But I think that's a great deal. It's like, I think it's like a $59 service that you can get on Legiit, which conveniently is owned by both of us. And you send it the 12 versions of the URL. And if you don't know what those are, either Google it or ask in the group. It's kind of hard to explain, and then just do it that way. That way you get some nice power and you break up your anchor text. So hopefully that makes sense. James says, thoughts about DigitalOcean. I'll let you go first.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I wish it would drown. DigitalOcean is one of my least favorite hosting solutions ever. For the sole reason I feel like they just complicate everything for absolutely no reason. Really never had a great experience with them. Never a terrible one, but it's just one of those things where everything is 10 times more complicated than it needs to be. It's pretty much all I got for that.
I will go a step further and say I have had terrible experiences with them and don't recommend them at all, and agree with what Jim said, is they make everything complicated. There's no cPanel access. There's no support because they expect you to manage it yourself. Granted, it's managed hosting, so I get it, but it's an absolute nightmare. They don't support it. There's no backups automatically. It's just an absolute fucking disaster, and I tell everybody that I know to avoid it at like the plague. I used to have Superstar SEO hosted on there, and one time for some reason it randomly used up too much bandwidth, which is impossible because it gets like 100 visitors a day. But anyway, I had to expand. Their solution was to buy more space right then. They didn't support it. I had to fucking message them on Twitter, on email, on Facebook to get their attention because I don't deal well with not getting a response. So avoid them like the fucking plague is my response to that. So pardon my language, but I feel strongly about that. Anyway, Jamie says, per Scary V reference, yeah, we had a long conversation with him about him a couple of weeks ago. Thomas Slav says, you guys can drop in rankings if you disable AdWords, considering that you are running them OFC. First of all, I never get acronyms, so if somebody can tell me what OFC means, that would be great. But I don't really know what you mean by disable AdWords. Like if you're running a campaign and you stop it, I don't know. Traffic definitely affects ranking. I've been told that AdWords doesn't, but I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you there. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Jim.
Not really.
Okay. Aaron says, what is your favorite on-page SEO plugin? Yoast, Squirrely, etc. Yoast.
Can none of them be an answer? I think it's one of those things where people just too oftentimes depend on Yoast to do the hard work for them. They should just actually put the work in. If you want something to rank well, and I think this is a general theory that I have a long time. Don't just install a plugin and say, all right, now let's sit back and wait. Do the research, do the work yourself, make sure you actually go through and triple check things. Yoast is really just using, not even an algorithm, it's just an equation for simplicity.
It's like a checklist, really.
Right. So a lot of people will say, oh, I didn't get my green light on that post after going and throwing another keyword. it's not really going to be, if you get a green light in Yoast, you're going to have the best ranking website ever. Otherwise, everyone would do it, and SEO would be stupid. That being said, there are some of them that are kind of useful to kind of point out stuff that you might just be overlooking, but I don't really have any preference to any of them, one over the other.
All right. Sanjar says, how do you compare PBNs with blog posts in terms of ranking? I assume that you mean guest posts by blog post. I find that those hit a little harder if they're a true guest post. At this point, guest posts and PBNs are kind of getting to be the same thing. It's just the guest post site is owned by somebody else, so it's not technically a PBN. But if it's a real guest post on a real site, then I find those hit a little harder. But it just depends on the site too. So it's kind of a situational thing. Aaron says Bluehost FTW. Kirill says recommended VPS provider.
You could go Bluehost. They're actually not a terrible one for VPS. I prefer them over something like a GoDaddy or anything else. SiteGround is pretty good. I recommend SiteGround probably more than Bluehost. I've just never had great experience with Bluehost for support. You just kind of leave a sour taste in my mouth with their level of care. Never really had any issues with SiteGround, but it's probably more of a personal preference than anything else. You're going to run into that one person who had a terrible experience, and they're going to tell you it's the worst thing in the world. But if I had to go somewhere, I'd say probably SiteGround, just to pick one.
I've been using Green Cloud for a long time, and they've been very good to me. So check those out too. Matt says, how many PBN posts are too many? How many money sites do you link to each PBN? Is it bad to do a lot, like say 10? I say 10 to 20. Anything over 20 and you're watering it down. On mine, I don't do more than 20. On ones for high-end clients, I don't do more than 10. Aaron says, Kirill Media Temple is pretty good for VPS. Andy says, is it possible to do quality SEO on a CMS? I don't understand that question. Do you?
Yeah, CMS, content management solution system software, whatever the hell you want to call it. Typically WordPress. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's way more than just, like I said, using a plugin. It's on-page optimization, off-page, whatever. It's all still ones and zeros. It's not going to change. Just because WordPress's name is on it doesn't mean that you're really limited. It might just take a little bit of extra work depending upon what you're looking to do. But yeah, there's no limit from that perspective.
Cool. Jeff says AdWords does affect ranking via the traffic coming from AdWords. If you're running ads and you stop, expect a temp drop in the rankings. Well, there you go. All right, it looks like we're caught up on questions, so I'm going to get a drink of water, and then I'm going to babble until we get some more. Let's take the temperature right now. Is everybody enjoying this? Jim useless, or is he actually giving you some good answers? I've actually learned some stuff from today, so I think it's been good, but he's going to think I'm kissing his ass if I say it. So if you're getting something out of this, please let us know. I'm still upset that I can't use my expensive camera and I'm having to use a $79 camera and sit right on top of it like I am. But not everything always goes your way, so it is what it is. Matt says, what was your number one way of getting clients when you were getting started, Chris? I still had my day job, so LinkedIn and email were the main ones, anything I could do on the sneak while I was at work, because, obviously you can't be making calls and doing lots of things while you're also doing tech support. So my goal there was to do just enough at my day job not to get fired and to spend the rest of the time building my business, and those were the two where I could do it. So those worked well. Once I got away from that, I hope this doesn't come off as boastful, but I had kind of built up a reputation through my services and stuff, so people started coming to me. So overall, the first two things that worked well for me were email and LinkedIn. So hopefully that answers that. We've been on here for about 45 minutes now. You guys got any more questions? I'm trying to keep talking and not assume that there aren't any coming in because I know there is a delay. But if we start running out, we'll start wrapping it up. Sanjar says, is changing the anchor on a PBN a footprint? It's not something you should do. I don't think it's a footprint, but it doesn't look natural in my opinion. So. All right, guys, anything else? Like I said, I'm actually running out of things to babble about, but Ron says, I miss Green Cloud. What is it, hosting? Yeah, you can get proxies, VPS, a lot of stuff like that from them. And their customer, I've not needed their customer service very often, but a couple times I did, it was very good. So give them a Google and check them out. Kirill says, if I ever get hit with malware virus, what would be the steps to fix something like that?
It's going to depend on who your host is. If you have a good one and they offer support, usually they'll fix it for you. Next best option, which is probably what most people are going to have to do, is restore from a backup. The important thing to know there is to just make sure that you know when your infection started. Usually you'll be able to tell with kind of files being last modified or things like that. Restoring from a backup is probably going to be the safest first step. Then once you do that, making sure that you get everything up to date. If I can assume we're talking about a WordPress website, you're going to want to make sure you change your password, update all your plugins, make sure your themes are up to date. In some cases, you'll find that when you get a malware infection, they'll often install like a random theme on your site and just leave it inactive. Which you might not notice. You might just wonder one day why there's a weird theme that you never knew you installed. Often those are backdoors that they'll create to get back into your site that you might just overlook. So just make sure you keep an eye on those things, making sure that you limit the number of themes and plugins you use, and obviously secure passwords, things of that nature.
Great. Sanjar says, is image alt text a text ranking factor or only ranking factor for images? How important can it be? It's definitely a ranking factor. It's also an easy way to increase your keyword density. So it helps with both, and I do it quite a bit. Obviously don't go nuts with it, but yeah, it definitely is a ranking factor for both the image and for the page. Andy says, I'm building a site using CMS on template system without any HTML skills, not Wix, but similar. I'm looking to pay to have quality SEO, which I can't do. Been quoted around $300 per month. Is this reasonable? It's very cheap. Yes, I wouldn't even talk to you for an hour for that. So, or 300 pounds, which is probably what, like $400? Yeah, I think that's very reasonable. In fact, it actually concerns me how reasonable it is. So definitely do your homework on who's offering that. Matt says, after foundational links and before keyword anchor text PBNs, do you recommend doing $59.25 PBN post, 12 different URL deal, or every money site? Nothing's absolute, but it's a good thing to start with. The more branded and URL anchors you get before you start using keyword anchors, the more aggressive you can be. So it's a good place to start, and then you'll get some power out of those as well. So now keep in mind, for that price, you're not going to get as high a quality of a PBM, but they are going to have power, and that particular service does a good job, so they can. So. And back to the $300 per month or £300 per month. That anybody that charges that low, you definitely. I'm not saying that they're bad because everybody has to run their business the way they see fit, but I would definitely look into that in depth before I gave them anything that was important to me. All right, guys, anything else? But the questions are starting to die down a little bit. I'll give it another minute or two, and then we'll let Jim talk about a couple of things, and then we'll wrap it up. Hey, Jim, you were telling us about the Webmasters Academy before?
Yeah, I will certainly fill you all in on that. So the Webmasters Academy is something that I've been working on for a long time, personal project. Been on the back burner for a while just based on some other things that took priority, but starting to really put some energy into it. Point being, it's meant to be a resource for people to go and to be able to ask questions and get straight up answers without sales pitches and just crap. So it's a place where I'm starting to do weekly trainings on actual real life skills that people need to administer a website, whether it's from how to install WordPress, how to build a theme, installing plugins, page speed optimization, kind of anything you need to know to be able to run a website effectively. And again, we'll throw up a link in the comments, I think, to that group. But it's meant just like here, to be an open forum where people can get honest answers to questions and just have a resource place to turn to. At some point in the near future, we're going to be actually opening up a Legiit Academy where you can go and actually learn courses from verified, trusted individuals, whether it's from web design to graphic design to hosting to SEO to whatever. So that's going to be coming in the near future, probably the next month or so. Something like Udemy, but with actual focus on web design and marketing, and with people who are actually in the streets doing it every day. I suppose behind the keyboard. But real hands-on people who've actually done it, not just professors looking to make some extra money. But a good place to go to turn to find some good, valuable information. But in any case, definitely recommend, if you are administering a website, which I assume most of you are, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. As busy as I am, one of my passions is actually, apart from crocheting, is helping people with things in this industry, just because it's how I learned, was having a mentor and having someone to turn to ask questions. Having someone to be able to answer questions for you, like Chris does for you here, is a great resource. So I want to be able to provide that in the web mastering realm, if possible. So that's pretty much all there is to it.
What is it, the webmasteracademy.com or?
Yeah, it's the webmastersacademy.com. Right now there's just a splash page up there because I haven't opened up the doors yet. But in the meantime, we're really just focusing on the actual Facebook group for now, just as a resource for people to change.
Cool. I'll drop a link to that after we get done here. So, all right, looks like we got a few more questions coming in. We'll answer those, and then we'll call it a day because we've been here almost an hour now. Sanjar says, I had a few spots drop in SERP after the recent G updates. Shall I wait a couple of weeks before doing any changes or start working more on-site SEO? If your on-site's not right, definitely get it right. Otherwise, I would wait for a while. Matt says, I have built 50 social profiles, 60 citations, 15 to 20 image and video citations, a press release, social signals. For the rest of this month, I will be building foundational links before PBNs. We'll be doing blog commenting, forum commenting, creating Web 2.0s like Wix, Weebly, Tumblr, etc., creating a meetup page. Am I missing anything else? I'm halfway up the first page. No, it sounds like you've got all the important stuff done, and I would start firing away with some power links. Andy says, we are a small local company and only do business with within a 30-mile radius of our HO. I assume that means HQ. So not competing on a national basis. So I thought SEO wouldn't be too difficult, and $300 per month seemed okay. Does that make a difference? No, I don't think so. I think that's still very low, and I would investigate why they're able to do it so low. Ron says, in your opinion, what did the Google update affect? I have no idea. None of my rankings changed much. So I would ask somebody else in the group because I don't want to give theoretical answers. All right, it's 3:58. We will wrap this up at 4 o'clock. Do me a favor, and I don't want to do a stupid-ass hashtag. I hate that shit. But, Jim is a very busy man and took the time to, we've been trying to arrange this for about 4 or 5 months. And we finally found an hour to do it. So do me a favor and just thank him for being here. And let me know if you enjoyed this and if you want me to bring on more guests in the future. So just do me a favor and drop a comment and say, thanks, Jim, something like that. So again, I'm not trying to do some city on a hill bullshit, but you know, it's tough. So Stavros says, any chance to list a company on Google without verifying the location through postal mail? There's a service on Legiit that will do that. I would look into that. It was our first featured service of the week. And lots of people saying thank you, Jim, and thank you, Chris. All right, guys. Jim, do you have anything else? Any closing words?
That's it. Just, like I said, don't be shy to ask. I'm kind of a busy dude, but, I don't get on Facebook all day, every day. But you can feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to help.
Great. Well, I appreciate you coming here and helping us out and the things that we've worked on together, too. So that's me saying that publicly. So don't let it go to your head or anything. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week. Probably be just me next week, but we'll see if we can't get someone else on maybe once a month or something just to kind of mix it up. Do me a favor, subscribe to me on YouTube at superstarseo.tv and go ahead and sign up for Legiit, which both of us would love for you to do. Girl says crochet for life. So again, thanks for joining us. I realize that this may have not been the most stable experience with the video, but Facebook Live streams don't really like sharing, so they were probably raised poorly. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a great one.